Marco?
Sean.
You're always waiting. Milk or no milk?
I knew you were going to go with that. We're eating Oreos.
We're eating Oreos and chocolate chip and oatmeal raisin and I don't know. Do you dip in?
How about some cantuccini with Vinsanto? How about that? Let's make it Italian. Let's make that. They're still cookies. You know?
They are.
So that's what we're talking about today.
That's right. They all shapes and sizes, different pleasures from eating different cookies. I don't know what analogy we can pull from that, but I don't know if you have a rotten cookie, but let's just say cookies drive the web these days. And I'm not going to pretend to describe all the things that they do and why they're important and what risks they bring to the business. That's why we have Pedro and Marco to talk about this topic with us, cookies and the internet and compromises. And they've done some research. They're presenting that research at Black Hat, and I'm thrilled to have them on as part of our chats on the road as they join us from San Diego, evidently. So Pedro, Marco, thanks for being on.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. And we were joking even before we started recording about the fact that you are literally going to be on the road. You are already on the road from Europe to San Diego in California, and then you're going to go to Black Hat and the whole other things that happen in Las Vegas during Hacker Summer Camp. And so you're kind of like taking our hint of chats on the road. And we are excited. We're excited to learn about what you're going to be talking about there. And actually, I think Sean was curious about what are you doing in San Diego to start with.
Yeah, let's start there, and then we'll hear.
Yeah, this week we are here for the International Cybersecurity Challenge, or the International Cyber Games that are happening this year. Is the second time that they happen. Last year they happened in Athens, and the goal is to gather young talents from different regions around the world, and they compete in a security competition in a CTF for 2 days. So today is the preparation day, and the competitions are tomorrow and Thursday, and then Friday the award. So we are really on our way to Vegas. At some point on Saturday we start our.
And you're the coach of Team Europe, right?
Yeah. I'm one of the coaches from Team Europe, and Marco is one of the jury members. So we are really on the way to Vegas.
Stop off to hack some folks and hack each other and be judged in doing so.
And I'm definitely going to be like, go Team Europe. I'm with you guys.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We'll do our best as all the others.
Of course.
I'm not supposed to root for anyone because I'm a member of the jury. So, you know.
All right. Okay.
Here. Yeah, don't say anything you regret, Marco. I will say that we love what Jessica Gulick does with that program. It's really cool. We actually covered the event last year in Athens remotely, and I mean it's perfect for what we need these days to help understand how businesses can be compromised, how they can be attacked, how you protect them, and bring teams together to simulate that and help the next generation learn new things. And speaking of learning new things, you're going to present at Black Hat, and we're going to get into that topic. But first, I want to know who Pedro and Marco are. We know you're in San Diego, but we don't know who you are outside of San Diego while you're in Europe. So, Pedro, you're up.
Okay, so my name is Pedro. I'm an associate professor in the University of Lisbon, and I play CTFs. In fact, I'm a hacker by accident, and this folk is one of the responsible for doing this. So basically, I started playing CTFs when I was working with Ricardo Focardi, that was a Marco supervisor, and then I just got in love with CTFs, and what was previously a mathematician just became a computer scientist with interested in hacking and all this and teaching new generations. And the work we are going to talk about today was something that was born while I while I did my sabbatical last year in TU Wien, where Marco is now. So
yeah. So hi, I'm Marcus Corcina. I'm Italian. Come from Venice, the actual island. But I'm a senior scientist at TU Wien now in Vienna. So it's just like a nice move, like from Venice to Vienna. I can't really complain. It's like two beautiful cities, to be honest. Yeah, so I started playing CTFs. So I'm like in this kind of like field starting from like 2009. I'm the proud creator of the name for the Italian team Maccheroni. That's like my creation. That's like something I'm super proud of. Yeah, and I like to do knowledge transfer and passion transfer, like pushing forward the next generations, trying like to help them finding what they like as just like my passion. That's why probably we're in academia, right? And we didn't move to the private sector. So yeah, in terms of research, I mainly do web security. That's my focus. I did a bit of everything in the past, but yeah, now mobile and web insecurity are my things.
I love it. And I mean, let's be honest, the work that you're doing in the research, it's one thing to do that research, maybe even write about it, document it, but to actually take time to put a presentation together and connect with the community to, I presume, not just share your findings, but also talk about some of the processes that you went through to do that work, kind of teach the teacher, right? That Marco and I often talk about. So in the spirit of teaching folks, let's not dive too deep straight away into what you're talking about in terms of the findings. Let's kind of paint a broad stroke for folks who might not be familiar with cookies and their role in accessing the internet and websites and taking actions through these services. And then we can get into how they can be abused, perhaps. So who wants to paint a picture of what cookies are and their role in our life?
Right. So let me just start to say that, in fact, one of the things that we are putting the presentation for Black Hat is really we are putting the thought process that was in all this research. So the presentation is really how the research happened, and that's a really cool exercise.
This is also like quite different from the paper, because like the paper is a formal publication in which you go like through the background, like, and you present things formally, right? But the presentation is more about the story that like we went through like to do this research. So it doesn't really follow the structure of the white paper that we will attach to our presentation. But yeah, I think it's going to be like more engaging this way.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about cookies. So like the web runs because of the HTTP protocol, and we like to say that the HTTP protocol is stateless. There's like no way like to preserve some state between one request and another. How do you maintain state? With cookies? And cookies are like this little piece of like information that is attached between like one request and another. So like a cookie can represent your username on a website, or can be an identifier that represents the content of your basket on an eShop. Okay, so you can navigate through the website, and then you maintain like your basket, and the basket does not like disappear after you click on a few links here and there. So this is like what cookies are used for, and they're mainly used for authentication. So whenever you have a username on a website and you log in by submitting your username and the password, then you receive a cookie that means that you are authenticated on that website and you have an identity on that website. And by keeping on like sending this cookie over and over at each single request, you maintain like your authenticated state with that site. So that's like the picture about cookies. What are they? And of course, like they're a fundamental piece, fundamental like component of the web architecture, because that's still like the main way to maintain state on connections.
And that's a good story, because people can understand how, that if I do the things that I do online, it's because of that. If it makes my life much easier. It's like having a badge in the backstage of a concert allows you access. They know who you are and all of that. But then there's the bad guys, and things can go wrong. So let's go there.
the bad guys are also like the companies. I mean, cookies have been
Yes.
abused for ages to track people online, right? And this is like a problem of the so-called like third-party cookies, and they have been abused like to track the navigation of a user across like multiple websites, and then understand like the cross-site profile of this user, which is like bad for privacy. But here we are talking more about like security, not just about privacy, right?
Yeah, so here what we wanted to show, and as Marco said, so the cookies are the fundamental identifier in the web. So making sure that the integrity of the cookie is preserved and that no one can somehow mess up with the identifier we have or with the content we have, that's fundamental to preserve the integrity of the internet and the integrity of the communication. So our work is basically goes into how can cookies be messed up so that non-intended behaviors then become possible. So that's kind of the line that connects our whole story.
So you're saying that cookies have weak integrity, right?
Yes, that's exactly that. That's the problem is the weak integrity of the cookies, and how can a malicious adversary abuse this?
Yeah, and I think I love the word integrity. It's one of the attributes of cyber that I think we often miss out on, right? So let's talk about what needs to have its integrity maintained. So clearly, what represents that session or that person in that or doing that transaction, the identity of that, right, it's important that it has integrity. But what about, are there other things in the cookie? Are there chocolate chips in there that says this is how this is how somebody behaves? They typically look at things that are yellow over blue, or they shop at this site over this other one. What's in there that needs to have, well, what's in it, and I guess what can be done with it? Those two things where integrity is important.
Yeah. So like cookies are used like for multiple things. So we said like to maintain like your identity on a website, but also to bring like some protections on the web against certain classes of attacks. And one of these classes of attacks is called cross-site request forgery. All right. This is like the typical instance of the confused deputy problem, meaning that let's say that you have an account on bank.com, all right, where you usually do like your financial transactions, and there is an attacker that like brings you to visit another website that is like evil.com, all right? And then like from evil.com, the attacker can perform through your browser a request towards bank.com, doing a financial transaction to other people whom you don't know, and like you lose money like in this way. How does it work? It works because the cookie is still attached to this cross-origin request, okay? And because the cookie is attached like to this cross-origin request, then like this attack called CSRF or CSRF or someone else takes place and is successful. So how do you prevent this vulnerability to take place? You have different ways. Nowadays, like the to-go solution is to use like same-site cookies. Same-site cookies are great because they restrict the navigation within the same site. So like a connection from evil.com to bank.com will not attach the cookies. And so like the attack cannot work anymore, which is great. Okay. The problem is when you have the attacker in the same site of bank.com, which sounds like a pretty extreme, but in practice, this is really not the case. And it's like a very common scenario. So if the attacker controls, let's say, like a subdomain of bank.com, I don't know, like
hr.bank.com.
Yeah, sounds great. hr.bank.com. Then like what can happen is that the integrity of cookies, and not just integrity, but also like cookies are attached automatically to all the requests that are like flowing in the context of the same site, no matter what is the attribute, the value of the same site parameter for cookies. So this is like the thing. One of the standard protections against the CSRF is called like a pattern that is called like double submit. And basically the idea is like very simple. You send a secret together with a value in your cookie. And if this secret is sent to the website and this value matches the value of your cookie, then like the request is processed by the server, and then it's considered to be okay. The problem is that like in the context of the same site, the attacker can mess with the integrity of the cookie, can modify it, and then this protection collapses. This is a known problem. It's not like something that like we discovered like in this research. This is like something known like for ages already. We brought like this attacks further.
Yeah. So the thing is that as an alternative that was secure against the subdomain, controlling the subdomain, there was another protection that is called the synchronized token pattern, that had the purpose of solving this issue. And basically what we found out is that using the synchronizer token pattern from a subdomain, we can also exploit it in case when there are some flaws in the logic of the validation and of the management of the tokens. And so basically our research is about that, is how can, so we present the solution that was known to be vulnerable, but then how can you take the one that is supposed to be secure, and how can you take that and show that one,
break it.
In some cases, it's also insecure.
All I want to do is see cookies right now. But,
That's right.
I'm kind of scared because I don't know what I put in there. If it's the real cookie or another cookie. All right. What I would like to do here, and I don't want you guys to give up everything that you're going to present. I think you already gave a pretty nice picture, although I'm sure Sean may have some technical question after me. But I'd like to make a connection with the fact that you said that it's a known problem, and we already know for a long time that there is some vulnerability. There is a way to use it in a nefarious way. And I'm wondering, even if the internet itself was born on trust, we never even thought about security was going to be a problem, and we were all living in this la la land of, like LA here. Why are things not moving so fast, and who is really controlling this? Because I can see that the companies, the bad companies, or the one that can make a lot of money by exchanging this privacy information, they wanted to keep it maybe this way and maybe don't care so much about the inherent risk of people abusing it. But at the same time, I mean, we're talking about risk for financial health data and all of that. So my point is, where are we as a community, but also as a business community, not just the InfoSec community, addressing this, even from a legislation perspective? I mean, you guys come from Europe. I know we do things a little bit different between the US and Europe. So an overview maybe on the effect of this on our society and the way we do business.
I think that basically the developers are not making these mistakes in purpose. So I think that honestly, a very great experience reporting these vulnerabilities to the developers and coming up with solutions that would make their systems better. And I think that it was a great positive on our research. But the problem most of the problems we found, they derive from the fact that there are many technologies, many components on the web that they are very well thought and very well tested in isolation. And when you start putting them together, then there is this corner case that does not match the corner case of the other case. And so basically then there is this mesh of technologies, and that's where that's probably is the root cause of the vulnerabilities we found. So we found issues that basically browsers and servers don't think about the same object the same way, or two different libraries that don't think about the same object the same way. And so this interaction, and we are always building up and putting new technologies and putting new pieces in the puzzle. And so most of the vulnerabilities derived from that. I think that's kind of one of the takeovers of our research, is that when you develop a mechanism, when you develop a standard for the web, all browsers will implement that. But there are other pieces in the game, and basically all that has to be thought well. And in fact, Marco,
security is hard. I mean, that's the thing, and it doesn't involve like a single component in isolation, but it must like involve everything that is used like in the web platform. As Pedro said, like servers, clients, standards, middlewares, and everyone must have a common understanding, must have like an agreement on how the technology like must be implemented, must be used. Whenever there is a disagreement for like a multiple range of reasons, then like problems can arise. That's like one thing. The other thing is maintaining like a backward compatibility. That is something that is cursing the web like since its creation. The web like was not just born without security, but it was like born for a completely different purpose. It was like a content distribution platform, right? This was like in '93. Now like the web is what? Like it's an application distribution platform, or like it's like that place where everyone can run code on your machine, because like websites are applications, like full-fledged applications. Now we have even binaries running in the browser, like using WebAssembly. So it's a crazy place. It is like difficult like to keep secure because of like this multiple moving parts all together, all at the same time, developed by multiple parties. Yeah.
I think we should pause the internet, like AI. Just agree. Let's write a letter. We just pause it for like a few days.
Let's have it rewritten. Well,
yeah, you really can't, right?
Reboot.
every time like you try like to change something, you make like someone unhappy. It's like a very funny case, like in my opinion, like when Chrome like some time ago, like pretty recently, decided like to disable decided like to disable the pop-up messages, like the alert message from a cross-site iframe, which is something that like should never happen in the real world. But a lot of developers became angry at Chrome because like, oh, that you changed like this behavior, but like that behavior is crazy, like it's super insecure. So yeah, it's really difficult like to fix the web because you must like fix it in a way that preserves backward compatibility. But the problem is that backward compatibility. So you must like ensure like functionalities and security at the same time. And we know that like these two things are pushing in different directions.
So tell me, I like to get into ops stuff a bit here. So let's assume that the consumers have very little opportunity to protect themselves in these cases. So it's really on to the developers and the ops and the business teams building this stuff to kind of get it right on their behalf. So with that assumption in mind, who I'm not talking policymakers or grand research organizations, but who within a company, let's say, which teams within a company should be looking at this? And given your points on how complex things are, picking up a new open source library can change something. A Chromium update could change something. An extension could change something. Your app code could change something. How does a company get a handle on this, and who kind of leads that charge in your opinion?
I think I can answer this. Like, this is a very good and difficult question, but I have an idea how to solve that. So it's impossible for a company to keep track of everything. Like I'm a researcher. I do like web security for many years, and even for me, it's absolutely impossible to keep track of all the changes in the web platform. So if it is impossible for me, it's also impossible for like a company, unless like the company is Google. But like, yeah, it's like very, very difficult. It's a hard job. So the thing that like you should do like in any case, you take the threat model and you try to minimize the risk. So you try to minimize like the factors that could be used by attackers to exploit your company. In this case, what shall a company do? Like should try like to revise the security of the subdomains. to eliminate like subdomains, so like root causes, so like subdomain takeover, for example, and prevent network attackers to mess with your company. And in this case, like there is this security header that is called HSTS. If it is deployed with a specific directive called include subdomain, then you can, let's say, sleep better. And I wouldn't say like forget about network attacks, but yeah, it's a good thing to have. And still, like 90% of websites out there do not implement this security mechanism with this directive. For what concerns like subdomain takeover and like problems of the confinement within the same site, we had a paper like 2 years ago at Usenix. So like we formally like faced the problem. We also did like some measurement. We managed like to exploit more than 1,500 subdomains of high-profile websites like Lenovo, CNN, many other like top-profile websites. So it's a problem that is still out there. The solution is simple, but you need like to revise the security of your DNS records every week. Otherwise, you expose yourself to attackers that could abuse your subdomains, take over your application, like your relevant applications in the domain of your website.
And another contribution of our work is that we also address the web development framework. So basically, we also think that probably we should not put the security on the shoulders of the programmer, but rather provide him with a better platforms to develop their code, more secure platforms, so that a problem can be solved upstream and not just for that particular developer, but be solved for all the developers. That's one of the other contributions that we contacted.
You're talking about like security by default, right?
Yes.
But security by default is not always possible, because then like you affect the compatibility and functionality. It's always like the same problem. Like you have the blanket that is like, it's like pretty short, and if you start like pulling from one side or another, then like something will be uncovered.
Some limb is exposed at some point. Hopefully it's the hand with the cookie so I can eat it. So I'll stop making jokes about cookies, and I'll note, I have to say it though, the Cookie Crumbles Unveiling Web Session Integrity Vulnerabilities. That's the name of your session. It's on Wednesday, August 9th, 2:30 in Islander FG. 30 solid minutes of unpacking and hearing a story of CSRF and CORF. It's going to be a great session, no question about it. And I'm thrilled you guys came on to give us some insights into this and to help tease it out, and hopefully a bunch of folks join you and learn more about this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. It will be really a presentation on how the research was done, and we'll share as much as we can from the experience, because that I think it's also.
I'm pretty sure that like attendance will find something quite unexpected about like how there it's evolved. It is shocking for us, so it's going to be shocking also for people attending the session.
Nice.
Yep. And everybody loves free cookies, so I want to thank you so much. I want to wish you a good trip to Vegas. We'll publish this as soon as possible. And for everybody else, we will keep covering. We have the whole week full of conversation with people that are presenting to Black Hat. And not only Black Hat, there's the entire Hacker Summer Camp going around in Las Vegas anyway. So stay tuned, everybody, and subscribe, share, and keep eating cookies. But check the expiration date, maybe.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.